Hey everybody, I'm Becky Adams. Thank you for stopping by the Scrapbook and Cards Today YouTube channel. Today I am creating a 12 by 12 layout for the summer 2022 issue of Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. And the article that I created this for is all about entertainment. And I don't know about you, but crafting is one of my favorite forms of entertainment. So I am using the Let's Get Crafty collection from Simple Stories to create a layout about my niece and her love of crafting. So to get started, I have this pink and orange plaid pattern paper that I am using for the base of my background. And I love this pattern paper so much that I want to make sure and save as much of it as I can because I want to use it on another project. So I'm cutting out the inside of the base of the background to save for another project because I know that it will be covered up by this piece of white cardstock. So I have a piece of white cardstock that I stitched around the edge using my sewing machine and white thread, and I'm going to adhere that to this pattern paper using an adhesive tape runner from scrapbook.com. So I will just center this piece of white cardstock right in the middle of the plaid pattern paper and just make sure everything is straight, and then I'll go ahead and push down on the adhesive to make sure that everything sticks really well. I have two 3x4 photos that I'm working with on this project, and I pre-cut some pattern paper mats for the photos using the 6x8 paper pad from the Let's Get Crafty collection. And then I also stitched around those photo mats, again with my sewing machine and white thread. The title for this layout is simply Crafty, and I'm just kind of laying things out to make sure that I have the spacing right and to make sure that I know where I want to adhere my photos. So as I mentioned, I have two 3x4 photos, and I'm just adhering those to the photo mat, again using the scrapbook.com tape runner. And once I have those in place, I did decide to switch up the order there. I wanted the photo with where she was wearing the black shirt on the left instead of the right. And then I'm tucking the threads that I had from stitching onto the back and just securing them with some tape runner. This is optional. You don't have to tuck your threads away, but I prefer just a cleaner look of the threads being tucked away than left out on my project. So as I mentioned, the title of this layout is simply Crafty, and I want that to pop up off the page a little bit. And so I'm using some adhesive foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. And you will notice here in a minute that I'm only taking off the backing of part of those foam squares. And in fact, I go and put this one back on. And I do that because I want the title to stay in place, but I also want to be able to tuck a few bits and pieces in around the title. So I want it to stay in place, but not, I guess, still be able to tuck things in around it. So here's my journaling. I'm just going to lay it here on the page for a minute. I just want to make sure that I leave plenty of space for my journaling. In the Let's Get Crafty collection and in a lot of Simple Stories collections, they have a pattern paper that is completely tags. And so I fussy cut two of those tags, and I want to put them to the right of my photos and kind of do a fun embellishment cluster. So I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but I want to get things set up so that I can easily do that later. So I put adhesive tape runner under the end part of the tag, And then up at the top where the hole is, I put adhesive foam squares. And I'm using my T-square ruler here to make sure that I have my tags are straight, because I want these tags to be straight across that little section of the page from one another. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that second tag here in just a minute. I should have adhered the tags before I adhered the title. It was kind of hard to get my ruler to lay flat and straight with that title that is popped up with the adhesive foam squares. So in retrospect, if you're recreating this layout, I would definitely do the tags before the title. So I'm trimming down this tag because I just need a little bit of it to show on the right hand side of the layout. And I did the same thing, just used a little bit of tape runner at the base, and then at the top of the tag I used a couple of small adhesive foam squares. I've still got my journaling laid out here, and I'm just keeping that tucked in there by my title where I want it to go, so that I make sure and save a spot for my journaling, because I definitely that's one of the most important parts of the page for me, is that journaling. So I want to keep it at the forefront of my design. So I have a few die cuts that I've pulled out of the bits and pieces pack, and I believe the journaling bits as well. And I'm just adhering those and kind of tucking them up above the photo. There are 2 main embellishment clusters on this layout, and then 1 smaller embellishment cluster, but the one above the photo is probably the largest one. So I have a couple little bits that I put up there at the top, and then this cute pencil cup that has lots of crafting supplies just fits perfectly right there to the right of the title. And again, I adhered that with foam squares. You'll find that I adhere a lot of my embellishment with foam squares. I love the dimension and the shadowing that it gives. So I have a gap in between those 2 bits of embellishment that I put up there at the top. And I wanted to fill that with it's a piece, I believe, from the journaling bits. And anyway, I'm going through a couple different options of things that I could do up there at the top. I haven't quite decided exactly what I want it to look like, so I'm going back down to my journaling, and I'm going to adhere my journaling strips while I think through the rest of the embellishments on my layout. So I print my journaling at home just on a regular printer, using regular copy paper, and then I cut the strips with my paper trimmer, and I put 1/8 inch double-sided tape from scrapbook.com on the back side of each of my strips, and then I leave it like that until I have my layout mostly complete. So I print my photos and journaling first, and then I don't remove the adhesive until like this point when I'm ready to put them on the layout. And I leave them all attached to one side, to one of the margins, so that they are in order. So I don't have to worry about which strip goes where and whether or not my journaling is not going to make any sense. So I'm just using my T-square ruler and making sure I have this last journaling strip put down straight so that it doesn't look wonky and out of place. And once I have that journaling strip in place and that pressed down really well, I am going back to my embellishments. And by now I have decided that I wanted this larger floral cluster to go at the top, kind of in between those two photos. And I'm going to save those two smaller photos um, for another spot on the page. But I think that bigger floral cluster definitely fits better in that spot. So I'm adhering that with some foam dots. Again, I guess the two sections that are above the photos with foam dots. And I had covered up a couple, or part of those die cuts that I put down earlier. So I just pulled those out and made sure they were on the top layer so that you could see them well. And then I have these two flowers that I want to use somewhere on the page, but I still hadn't decided where. But they do, I believe they ultimately, both of them land here, kind of underneath that embellishment cluster by the title. And I'm just nestling that in. I love it when things nestle right in next to my journaling strips and title, so it all kind of fits together like a puzzle. And then I'm just doing the same thing with that pink flower. And then I have these adorable hearts that I couldn't resist, and I had to find somewhere on my project for them. So they come from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, and I just cut them out of the sticker sheet because I knew I wanted to use them. I just wasn't sure where, so I kept the backing on and just cut them out with the backing, and then the adhesive isn't exposed until I have decided exactly where I want to put them. So I put a few up by that top embellishment cluster and then one more down at the bottom. So remember a few minutes or a couple minutes ago when I just put foam adhesive under the two tags? This is why. I wanted to tie those two tags together. I thought it would be really cute to have those literally tied together. I just think it's a fun embellishment for this project, and I will have embellishments in both places, so it ties everything together, actually literally ties it together. So I just have some white crochet thread, and I just tied those together carefully, and then I'm just straightening out the bow just a little bit. And then I have just a few more embellishments that I want to finish things off with. So on the tag on the right side of the page, I simply just want this one flower. And I'm adhering that just there at the top of the tag. And it's going to hang off the edge of the page like the tag does. But since I don't have anything else that goes into that plaid border around the edge, I'm gonna trim off the edge of that flower. It is cute, but since I don't have anything else in that border, it looks like it looked a little out of place for me. So I'm just going through my embellishments for that from the Let's Get Crafty collection, and adding just a few little bits and pieces. So they have some really cute puffy paint brushes that fit perfectly right there around that pencil cup. I just think they are so cute. I love the puffy stickers, and that's what I reach for quite often to finish things off. So there was one little bit that I thought about adding up there and then just decided against it. I didn't want to add too much there up at the top. The other thing that I reach for when I'm looking for the last few finishing bits and pieces on a layout is the sticker book. And there are just a few little heart stickers that I wanted to add to kind of balance off the rest of the page. There were quite a few hearts there at the top, and I just wanted that little one there at the next to that tag to finish things off. So thank you so much for stopping by. Please make sure that you hop over and check out the summer issue of the magazine. It's always such a good magazine, and I know you will find tons of inspiration there. Thank you again for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon.